All right, so this is where we left it. We have Lazarus in the room, kind of sitting there. Let me close this. And we have Lazarus falling. We have Lazarus hopping up on top of things and scooting to the right. But now we need to start the process of the conveyor belt. I always imagine in this game that there's a conveyor belt just off screen up top, and it's dropping boxes on Lazarus's head. Okay? So, just like always, when we add new objects to a game, we always start out with the sprites. So we're going to have 4 different types of boxes. And this is the first time we're going to have sprites that apply to, the same sprite applies to multiple objects. So in the past we'd have a single object with multiple sprites. This is just the opposite. These are multiple sprites, or single sprite for multiple objects. So let's create those sprites right now. I'm just going to create 2 of them, and then you can do the other 2 if you'd like. I'm going to do the stone box. I'm missing the R. And I'd call it that. So we look at for the stone box picture. Here it is, stone box. Now, since the box fills up the entire frame, we don't want to remove the background, so you want to uncheck this. There's a few that have transparency, like the wood box and the metal box. You would say remove background, but the other 2, no. And then precise collision checking, we'll just leave that as it is right now. Yeah, I would just leave it the way it is. And this fills the whole frame, so it's going to be the same. Okay, so there's our stone box. I'm also going to do a metal box as well. So we'll do and load up that sprite. The metal box kind of has reinforced edges. Looks like it's metal. It's just a little heavier than a wood box. And this one does have some background on it, so we're going to have to say remove background on this one. Because it doesn't fill up the entire frame. Next we're going to create the 2, well, we'll start with the stone box. And with the stone box, you're going to need 3 different types of stone boxes. The first type is a stationary stone box. The next is a falling stone box. And then finally there's this one called the next stone box. And the way it works is the next stone box turns into a falling box, and a falling box turns into a stationary box eventually. But that's kind of the process of the conveyor belt. So we're going to start just with we're going to start with the stationary stone box. So let's create that now. Okay. And this will be the stationary one, and we're going to use the stone box sprite. It needs to be solid so that Lazarus can jump on top of it and that the collision events will work properly. Okay. Does it need any other events? And the answer is no. It just has to exist. That's about it. It's used for collisions, so, and the collisions are all specified on other objects. So that's all you need to do for the stationary stone box. Okay, let me close these out. So let's just put one in the game, and we'll note that there's a slight problem right out of the chutes. So here's the stone blocks, and we want this to be treated just like the walls, and Lazarus will jump over the top of it. All right, so I'll start up the game, and there's a few issues that we're going to have with this straight off the bat. Okay, so here's Lazarus. He falls. He just ignores the box completely. Okay, he can just blast right through it. So we have to make Lazarus sensitive to the box, and when we originally set Lazarus to jump on things, we were assuming certain things, and like here we check if we're on the ground. We also, that should still work. Here, moving right, we said if there was not a wall there. There's a different way you could say that. It's a little bit easier, and what we're trying to do is make it so that Lazarus can jump on top of walls and any of the box types. So we're going to change this one conditional expression here. We go to the Control tab. Instead of looking specifically for walls, we're going to instead check to see if it's empty. In this case, we're going right, so that would be 40 here, same coordinates. And we'll say relative. So if it's empty, that's when we'll change into last right. Now, empty could be a wall. You know, there's no wall there. There's no box there. And so this is going to work better for us. And so all we're doing is we're changing it from this one. I'm going to delete that one and do this one instead. And again, that's so that the walls and the boxes will be treated the same way by Lazarus. Okay? Leave not unchecked, because we're checking for empty, so it's kind of like a negative logic type thing. And again, we do the same thing here. Take a look at your coordinates, 40 and negative 40. You want to use the same coordinates, but you just want to use the other form of the condition. So it's 40, that's one square to the right, and negative 40 is one square up the screen. Okay? Solid, and we say relative. So we're just going in there quickly and replacing those. Now, so we'll give it a try now, and what we should see is Lazarus will treat the box just like everything else, like the walls, and then it'll be able to jump up on top of that wall. Okay, so here I go. And my hope is that when I go to the right, Lazarus will jump on top. Yay, okay. It saw that there was something in the way, so it couldn't go hopping to the right. It needed to jump to the right. Okay. And now it's sitting on top of the box. Yay. Okay. So that solves that problem. The next type of object we're going to need is a falling stone box. Okay. So let's try that. And so we're going to create another box type. So we say create object. Notice we're not creating a sprite, because we're going to use the same sprite as we did before for the stationary stone block. So let's try this. Object, falling stone. Okay. This is a falling stone box. Just takes the same sprite as a regular stone box. Does it have to be solid? I guess that doesn't hurt, so we'll make it solid. And what we want to do is in its create event, we just want to get it falling. So we're going to add a create event. So when the box is first created, we want it to start moving down the screen. I think the speed is 5. Okay. But the other thing we want to do is we want to position it right over Lazarus's head. Okay. So we're going to do a jump to position. I'm going to do that first. The x-coordinate, well, we want to be right over Lazarus's head, so we're going to say object las stand. Now here, this name needs to match exactly what you have here for Lazarus, the stationary Lazarus. If you chose a different name, then you need to put that different name there. And then you want to say .x. So wherever Lazarus is horizontally, that's where you want to position the box. You also want the box to be just off the top of the screen. So we're going to say -40. This is not relative. It's an absolute position, 40 pixels above the screen. Because we don't want to see the boxes appear magically in the air. You want to just have it off screen where they get moved. It's not relative, no. Because we've already made it kind of relative to wherever Lazarus is. Okay? And again, this has to happen first. So make sure the jump to position is first, and then the movement starting down is next. Okay, so let's see if this works out. So in the room, we don't have our conveyor belt working yet, but we're going to just add a falling stone box to the room, and I'm going to put it over here just to be kind of strange. So it's not going to begin falling in that position. As soon as it's created, it's going to relocate itself right above Lazarus's head. Okay, and then it should start falling. So let's try that. Okay, see how he moved? But notice how the stone box goes straight through the floor. Let me just show you that one more time. So on Lazarus, so I don't have to keep starting over again, I'm just going to add a keyboard event. And this is just the restart room event. Or we want it to restart the room. I think that's this one. Yeah. That way I don't have to get out and restart it again. Okay, so it goes right through the floor again. See, and Lazarus not being squished yet either. See that? It just went right through Lazarus. So we have some more interactions that we have to do to get this to work. Okay. So add this shortcut to the room, or this cheat, and this will allow you to restart a room automatically. Okay, so we need a collision event then with the stone box and the wall, right? The falling stone box at least. So let's add that collision event here. So when the falling stone box collides with the wall, what we want to do is it to stop moving. But since we have three different types, we're going to have three different types of stone boxes, we want to actually change the object into a stationary stone box. So the first thing we do is we stop it from moving. That stops it. And then we want to change the object, that's this one here, to a stationary stone box. Okay? So let's try that. I'm going to save that here. Now change the instance to an object stone box, which is the stationary stone box. Okay, so I'm getting out of the way here, and notice how the box stops. So it's hit the ground. It's now a stationary stone box, and now Lazarus can jump on top of it. I can't go left because I can only go right. So that's our second type of box. But now we need a way to create what the next box is going to be, and we kind of want to do this randomly. The conveyor belt will have 4 types of boxes that are sitting on it, and they could come in any order. But we only have one really type of box. So we're going to create, and this is the first time we've done this, is we're going to create an object called a controller. By now we should have the stone box staying put when it hits the ground, which is good. One thing that isn't happening is when Lazarus gets hit by the falling stone box, he doesn't get squished, right? So we have to kind of define what happens when this falling stone box hits Lazarus. So we add a collision event then with the falling stone box and Lazarus himself, and this will be the stationary Lazarus. If it hits Lazarus during the jump, it's not gonna trigger the squish thing. Okay, so what we're going to do when that happens is we're going to change Lazarus from a Lazarus into a squished Lazarus, but we haven't created that object yet. So let's do that. Okay. I kind of like the squished sprite. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I guess so. Kind of squirts everywhere. Okay. Squished. Okay, that's squished. And we're going to load that sprite. They're squished, okay. So nice, pleasant animation of him getting squished. And we do want to remove the background, so put that there. Yeah, remove background. Okay, so now we have the sprite. Now we have to create the object as well. Okay, and we'll use the squished sprite. Okay, so now we go back to object last stand, or maybe the falling stone box. When he hits Lazarus, we want to change Lazarus into squish Lazarus. That's here. Okay. And then maybe put up a message deriding your player. You've been squished. Okay.
Your history.
Yeah, that's what it says in the book, but. And then after they respond to that message, this message is going to pop up on the screen and wait for a key press. Okay. So they'll be able to see that they died, and then you just want to restart the room, kind of like we did with the R key. Okay. But then you'll notice another problem, and this is, I'm coding these problems in there so that you can see what they are, and then you can also see how to avoid them. That's all you do. A lot of people get frustrated with programming because it's like a mouse in a maze with the lights off, and you're looking for the cheese, and you get going and you hit the wall, and that's a bug, right? So you turn, go another way, and you hit another wall, and as soon as you fix one problem, there's another problem, right? And you keep doing that until finally, eventually, you hit enough walls, you find the cheese. But it's very rare that somebody gets it right the first time. You know, when you code something up and you get it right the first time, that almost never happens. For me, it's happened, I'd say, I can count that on two hands. I write a bunch of software, try it, works just the way I thought the first time, very rare. Okay, so this isn't quite right because it says you've been squished, but it hasn't showed you the squished part yet.
You don't have to. It's too graphic.
Well, I don't know. See, it happens too soon. See, that message box comes up. So we probably want to wait until the end of the animation before we say you've been squished, right? So we're going to
Something you put in between.
yeah, we'll take these out of here. So cut those out. And here in animation N for the squish Lazarus here. So we're going to add animation N. So after he's completely squished, that's when we want to display the message you've been squished, and then that's where you want to restart the room. Okay, so let's try that. And you'll note that there's another problem. So here's Lazarus, and he gets squished. And you'll notice that the box turned into Lazarus squish, not Lazarus himself. Let's watch that again. There's one by the library. I'll put it there. See how if everybody watch the screen up here, you can see it better. The box hits Lazarus, and it turns into the squish Lazarus, and that's not what we want. Different issue? Okay. What was that? Okay, I'll come over and help. Did I spell squished wrong? You've been squished. No, I spelled bin wrong. That's why. Okay, let me fix that. English is my second language. Been squished. You've been squished. Okay? So when we switch to the squish Lazarus, that would be here. No, here in the collision event. We said it applies to self, right? So the falling stone turns into the squish Lazarus, and we don't want that, actually. We want the other thing, when in this case is the standing Lazarus, to get replaced. So we have to say other right there. Otherwise, your blocks are going to turn into squished Lazaruses, which is kind of strange. Okay? So if you see that happening, that's what you have to make sure happens, is you got to say other. So I only did the right side, but I'm assuming that you do the left side when we're doing the movement keys. All my game does is go right. And again, I'm only doing 2 of the boxes, so you'll have to do the rest of the boxes yourself. Okay. So another thing we want the box to do is to get created randomly. Okay. So I want to show you the mechanism for doing that. Now, this is the first time in a game we have something called a controller. And what a controller is an object that's invisible that controls the way the game gets played. They're really powerful. If you code them up right, you can control almost everything in the room. And the controller is silently in the room, keeping everything organized. Now, what the controller's job is in this game is to make sure there's only one falling box at a time falling, and that it automatically generates what the next box is going to be. So first what we need is to generate a box that represents the next box that's going to be created. And so we need one more object, another stone box object. And we're going to call this one object next underscore stone, object next stone. And just like the other stone boxes, this one will use the stone box sprite. So again, we have 3 objects that use the same sprite. Now this is kind of just a placeholder. This says, okay, this is going to be the next box that's going to go on the conveyor belt. And again, all this one has to do is exist. There is no collision event. I'm trying to think how this works. We may need to specify in the create event where to put it, but for now, we'll just leave it there. Let's make the controller object now. Now, since the controller doesn't have a sprite, or it's invisible, it doesn't need a sprite, so you can just create it here, and we'll call this one object controller. And so from this game forward, almost every game we do, I think, or all of them have a controller in them. This is our first controller object. This is a new concept.
That's where it's the control.
Yeah, controller's invisible, so it doesn't need a sprite. It just has to be in the room somewhere. So we're going to add a step event because we want to do this every frame. We want to check to see if there's any boxes in the way or any falling boxes already. So the first question we ask is, well, we don't want to create a falling stone box if there already is one, right? So we're going to count up how many falling stone boxes there are. So we use this one, count or test instance count. We're trying to see if there are no falling stone boxes. If there are no falling stone boxes, then I'm trying to remember the command here.
What did you say? Not
This one, create random. I just says if it's equal to 0.
okay.
That means there's no falling stone boxes. So if we're in the game and there's no falling stone boxes, we're going to create one. But another question we need to ask is we want to make sure that Lazarus isn't in the middle of a jump. We want Lazarus to be stationary before you drop a box on his head. So again, we have to count that. Because remember, Lazarus disappears for a second while it's moving. It turns into a right jumping Lazarus or a left jumping Lazarus. You only want to drop the box if Lazarus is standing still. So we want object Lazarus, the standing Lazarus, when there's one of them. So that has to exist. It's not, Lazarus is in the middle of a jump or a move. It's when he's stationary. So we want to wait till it's stationary, and we want to wait till there isn't any stone boxes being dropped. Okay? And if those two things are true, then we're going to do this thing called create random. And it asks us, this allows us to create up to 4 different random objects. And it's like rolling the dice, a 4-sided die, let's say. You roll it, and if you roll a run, you get this object. Now we only have one falling type of object, but we're going to fill these in with the other types in a bit. So we want to create a falling stone box. Okay? We don't have the other falling type of boxes yet. And where do we want to put it? We want to put it in the bottom left corner of the screen. It's kind of like Tetris, where you can see what the next piece is going to be. If you look down the left corner of the screen, you'll be able to see this. So the coordinate for that location is 0, because it's on the left side of the screen. And all the way at the bottom, 440. Our screen, or our room size is 640 by 480. Our box is 40 pixels, so we'd say 480 minus 40 gives us
20 pixels before this.
yeah, so it's down there in the left-hand corner. It's not relative. This is an absolute position. Okay. Okay. So if we go back then to our room, we're going to take this falling box out because we just set up the mechanism to allow the box to fall. Now, a common mistake people have is they forget to put the controller in the room. And if you don't put the controller in the room, there's not going to be any boxes falling. So you'll take my word for it. I don't want to just show you that nothing happens. Actually, nothing happens until you put the controller in the room. So controller's weird because it doesn't have a sprite. So I just kind of throw it anywhere that doesn't have something already in it. So I'll put it, say, here in the top left corner. It's kind of hard to see. I want to make it kind of obvious. So that's the controller. Again, nothing interacts with the controller. Things can collide with it, but the controller's invisible.
Just put it in the center.
Yeah, just somewhere. Somewhere where there isn't something. I just want to be able to see it readily so I know that the controller's in there. Okay, so I'm going to see if this conveyor belt thing now works out. Let's give it a try. Okay, so here's Lazarus. Hey, look, the stone boxes are coming down now on my head.
Right when the stone blocks come on other stone blocks, they just like,
They blast right through them, right?
yeah, they just, yeah.
Yeah. So we want the stone boxes and the collision between the falling stone box and another stone box to behave just like a wall, right? We want it to stop and then turn itself into a stationary stone box. So we go back to our falling stone here, and we're going to add a collision event with itself. Another, or not falling stone block, but let me change that. Collision with a stationary stone box. Because remember, there's only going to be one falling box. So a falling box is never going to hit another falling box. It's the stationary box that's going to hit. And this way, a Lazarus can, or you can see that the falling stone box is going to stop.
Put a stop.
Yeah. So you do the same two things here. You can copy these.
Oh.
So basically, you stop it from moving. That's this one. And then you want to change the falling box into a stone box so that the next box can be generated by the controller. Okay?
Okay.
So these falling boxes are going to get really busy because we're going to have collisions with wood boxes and metal boxes and cardboard boxes and walls and Lazaruses. I think that's everything. So just to review some of the new things we created today. And then I'll show you how to do the next one as well. And as you add boxes, I'll show you what you need to add to make this work. But the basic structures there, I basically provided you all the plumbing. Now you just have to go and complete it. Okay? Okay, so what did we change? Well, we added a hotkey here, or a cheat here, so I could just restart the room. You can just let Lazarus get squished now to restart the room. So this is probably not necessary. So we can remove it, I guess. We kind of need it for a while because we didn't have Lazarus being squished, but it's probably unnecessary. Jump right, we didn't change. Left, wall, we didn't change. No. We created this stone box. It's solid, right? And it doesn't do anything but sit there. Then we create a falling version of it. That one's solid as well. And we added a create event. In the create event, we made sure that whatever we call our Lazarus.x, it's x coordinate. We wanted to jump the box up above its head, just off screen, so -40, and it's not relative. Okay? And then start it moving down at 5. Now you want to choose a speed that's an even multiple, or multiplies evenly into the grid size, and our grid size is 40. Does 5 divide evenly into 40? Anyone? Yeah, it does. Okay. So don't use 6, because that doesn't divide evenly into 40. You can use 8. But for now, use 4 or 8. 8's kind of fast, though. Here, when it collides with Lazarus, we changed the other thing into a squished Lazarus. Here's the wall. When the falling stone collides with the wall, we want it to stop, and we want to change itself into a stationary stone box. And if it hits another stone box, or the falling stone box hits a stationary stone box, just like the wall, you want to stop it from moving and change it into a stationary stone box. Okay? Yeah, question? Okay. Hang on, let me just pause this. I've got to figure out how to pause this. Doesn't seem to be a way to pause it without bringing this up. Okay, so as we add more boxes, we're going to have to come back to the stone box, the falling stone box, and add those boxes here, the stationary versions. So I want to show you, as you add another type of box, where you need to look at it. Now I made this chart because some boxes can destroy other boxes, and I wanted to show, I needed a way to show kind of in a table how that works. So if you go out to the game design folder, and I think I have in Lazarus called a, see if it's out there. Yeah, Lazarus squish chart. Here it is. And this is just a web page. I'm not sure why they didn't include this graphic in the book. It would have been really helpful. Okay, so here's the squish chart. So what this tells us is that here's all the falling boxes on the top here, okay? And these are the stationary boxes on the left. So when a stone box hits when a falling stone box hits a stationary stone box, it just stops. However, if a falling stone box hits a wood or a metal box, it squishes it. So everything from the metal on down, including Lazarus, gets squished. Okay? Here, if a metal box lands, a falling metal box lands on a stationary stone box, it stops. It also stops on a metal box, but everything below that is squished, except for the wall. Everything stops on the wall. I guess I didn't say that last time. So everything stops when it hits a wall, but certain boxes destroy other boxes. So again, these are the falling boxes. These are the stationary one. And then this chart helps you say, well, what's supposed to happen? Well, I either destroy the one I hit, the stationary box that was hit, or I stop. Those are your two choices. If you hit Lazarus, then you turn Lazarus into a squished Lazarus, which makes sense. Okay? So if you get confused, go back to this chart and take a look at it, and it tells you what needs to happen with each of these interactions. Now, at no point in the game is a falling box going to hit another falling box. So the only things that are going to collide are falling boxes with stationary things, like Lazarus or the other stationary boxes. Do people kind of get an idea what this looks like? Okay, so that's a really good resource. It's out in the game design folder. Okay, so now we're going to add another type of box. Let's do we'll do the other end of the spectrum. Let's do a cardboard box. Okay, so first we make a stationary cardboard box. Well, this is an object. This is I haven't created the sprite yet. Object card box. I also need to make the sprite up here. I probably should have done that first. So this is the cardboard box. And there's the box. And we don't want to remove, we don't want to have that checked. We do, since this fills up the whole square, we don't need to remove the background. Okay. Now we're going to add that sprite then to our cardboard box. And we want it to be solid. And that's all the cardboard box has to do. It just sits there. Again, it just sits there so it can be collided with. We'll save that. And now we're going to create the falling cardboard box. So we say object falling, and this will be the falling cardboard box. Now the cardboard box doesn't actually destroy anything other than Lazarus. Okay, so, but we still need to provide all the different collision events. So the sprite we're going to use is the cardboard box, same sprite. Just to be consistent, we'll make it solid. So when it's created, just like if we look back at our stone box, we just want to do pretty much the same thing. We have a creation event, we have some collision events. So we want to create those same things. The only thing that's going to change maybe is the actions are going to change. Okay? So we'll start with the create event. Now, if you remember in the create event, what we do is we position the box right above Lazarus's head. So whatever you called Lazarus, object las stand is what I did. And then dot x. That means go find wherever Lazarus is, find its x location. That's where I want to put my box that I'm about to drop. And then y is going to be just off screen, -40. You don't click relative. Okay? Yeah, it might be helpful. Like say if you, we could have both windows open at the same time. Boy, I got a lot of them open. So here's falling stone. Here's falling card. And we can, I wonder if you can cut and paste between them. Yeah, we want to do this. So we copy that. See if we can paste it. Yeah, we can. Make sure it's in the same order.
That's create not object collision.
Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Hang on. Yeah, we just wanted to start moving. So we'll paste it there. Delete that. Okay, so what we're doing is just trying to, here's the stone box that we've got at least some of it set up. And here's the falling card box. And we want to do the same events. What should happen when the cardboard box hits Lazarus? Well, we just want to change Lazarus into the squished Lazarus. So we're going to add that collision event then. You can't copy collision events for some reason, but you can copy actions. So if the cardboard box lands on Lazarus's head, then we want to do the same thing we did with the stone box. And we want to change it, not the box, but Lazarus into a squished Lazarus. So since we're talking about the falling cardboard box, we say other, okay? Because Lazarus is the other thing that was collided with, okay? So that's the same. If a cardboard box hits a wall, same thing, it just needs to stop. So we'll add that collision event here. There's object wall. And then we can copy this one, put it in there. But you got to be careful here. You don't want to change it into a stationary stone box. You want to change it into a stationary cardboard box. So if you're going to copy it, make sure to go in and change that to a regular cardboard box. That's the stationary cardboard box. Okay. Say OK. When it hits the stone box, we want it to stop and change into a stationary cardboard box. Cardboard doesn't, like I said, doesn't destroy anything. Lazarus, right? So we add a collision event then with the stone box, right? And again, we're just copying the actions. So we stop, and then we make sure we change ourselves in the stationary version of whatever box we're on. We're on the falling cardboard box, so we want to change that to stationary cardboard box. If you change it to the falling cardboard box, that shuts off the conveyor belt and nothing comes down because there's a falling one, even though it's not moving. It's still there. And so if you see that when you play your game and the boxes stop, it's because you changed it to the wrong type of thing. You want to make sure you change it to the stationary version. Don't just stop it. Stop it and change it into the stationary version. Okay? But what should happen when a cardboard box hits a cardboard box? We don't have a model down here yet. Well, I think just like the other ones, we just want to stop. So if it hits a stationary cardboard box, just like a stone box, we want to, trying to copy this. We just want to stop and change into a stationary cardboard box, okay? Because we have this new type of box. Which means then that what should happen when a stone box, a falling stone box, hits a cardboard box? Well, we don't want it to stop like it would if a cardboard box hit a cardboard box. We want to squish the cardboard box, or just get rid of it, destroy it. So we add that collision event here. If the falling stone box hits a cardboard box, we want it to delete the cardboard box. And remember, delete is this little trash can here. So we say destroy instance. And we don't want to destroy the falling stone box. We just want to get rid of the thing it crashed into, and in this case it's the cardboard box. So we say other here. Don't destroy the falling stone box. It still needs to keep going. We want to get rid of the cardboard box. And there's a sound you're supposed to play here, but we'll add sounds later. It's kind of like a crunching sound or something. So that's what's different between the two cardboard boxes. Falling cardboard box is a cardboard box that stops and changes itself into a regular one. If a falling stone box hits a cardboard box, then it makes sense that the stone box should destroy the cardboard box, and that's what happens. How do we know that? Yeah, I know. How do we know that? Well, we take a look here. When a falling stone box hits a cardboard box, it says squish. Okay. You just look on the chart. Okay. So the last thing, so that we can see some falling cardboard boxes get generated, is we have to go back to the controller now. We have another type of falling box. And so in here, when we create a random object, I think I did this wrong. Yeah, so this should say, I said object falling stone. We actually want to make it object next stone. See, do I have that? I don't have that. Okay. So there's an issue right here. Like I said, there's three types of stone boxes, and we only have, well, let's see, yeah, we have it right there, object next stone. So that's what we should set this to. And this is so that the player can see it in the bottom left corner of the screen. Okay. Trying to think how this game works. I guess I'll have to look at the book. We also want to create a next cardboard box. So we say create object. And again, okay. And we'll use the same cardboard box sprite. Perhaps make it solid. And again, this is one of those that just has to exist. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the book for reference, because I'm forgetting a part of this. Let's go check out the book. At some point, we have to convert the next box, like the next stone box, into a falling stone box. And I'm forgetting exactly where we make that yeah, it's really kind of kludgy the way they did it. Okay, so what they're recommending is now, occlusion software, what it means is that you're forced them to do something in a way that doesn't look very good or is kind of confusing. So this is kind of a kludge. Okay. First thing we have to do is we have to now make sure there's no falling cardboard boxes, since we just added those. So we add another one of these count things here. And this time we're counting the number of falling cardboard boxes. And we want to make sure that there's no falling stone boxes. We want to make sure there's no falling cardboard boxes. And then we also want to make sure that there's only one Lazarus. Okay? So you can't have any falling whatever kind of box. Falling card, yeah. These should be falling, both of them. A falling stone, falling card. Okay. So if you get through all of these, then you want to generate the next one. So that's what this one does. And again, we're going to do object next card. Did we make that? Yeah, we did. Okay. And as you add more boxes, you'll have to add the 2 more here. But then inside this block, the way they want us to do it, and this is what I was trying to avoid, but I guess there's no way to avoid it. We want to change objects. And we want to, instead of cell for other, because we don't want to change the controller. There's no other because this isn't a collision event. So we want to change all the next stones into falling stones. Okay? So if the next box that's going to be dropped is a stone box, then create a falling stone box. This is really important to say perform events, yes. That means call the create event. Remember in the create event of the falling stone, that's the one that positions it up above Lazarus' head. So if you don't say yes here, it's not going to do that. It's just going to sit there. Okay? So it's very important to make sure to say that. Now we're not sure which one is the next one, so we have to put one of these for each type of box. This time, if there's any, if the next box is supposed to be a cardboard box, then we want to create a falling cardboard box that's here. And again, you want to say yes. Okay. So as we add more boxes, we'll have 2 more of these and then 2 more of those. And then we'll have to go in here and add 2 more next ones in here. So you can see the process. This controller does a lot of work here, okay? And it's all in the step event. And we'll go through this logic every time there's a new frame to the animation. So my hope is now that when we play the game, we'll have falling cardboard boxes, we'll have falling stone boxes, and again, I'm just going to do these 2, and you can do the rest, the other 2, based on what I've shown you here. So here's our stone box. It stops. Another stone box. I'm not seeing the next one in the corner, though. You notice that? Hey, there's a cardboard box. Yeah, if it stops, then you maybe forgot to change it into a stationary stone box, okay? So we saw that there's cardboard boxes coming out as well. If yours stops, that means when your falling box hit the ground or hit something else, you changed it into a falling box, or maybe you just stopped it and haven't changed it into a stationary box, but that will shut off the conveyor belt inadvertently.
So it's